Hello, and welcome to a broadcast program sponsored by, well, actually, it's produced by Friends of Terry Virgil. And I'm Terry Virgil, your host. And today's episode is called Those That Hate Freedom and Liberty Hate U.S. Constitution Amendment 2. We can see this across America where all liberals hate U.S. Constitution Amendment 2. All Democrats hate U.S. Constitution Amendment 2. All communists hate U.S. Amendment 2. All socialists hate U.S. Amendment 2. And what does that leave us left? It leaves us left with the majority of the people. A majority called conservatives. I would include some Republicans here that hate the U.S. Constitution Amendment 2 as well. I can't point fingers at them because it's hard to tell because they flip-flop throughout the campaign as presidential candidates. But we also know that there are many billionaires out there, such as Mark Zuckerberg, who hates U.S. Constitution Amendment 2. He hates freedom of speech, by the way, even though he set up this thing called social networking and social media. And for God's sake, I have no idea why, but maybe it's something that we can use to bring our messages across. One thing that we could see that if billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, hate this, many are going to climb aboard and say he's a nice fella. He's actually an imbecile, a moron, and a bigot to play the best part of everything. Every Democrat and every liberal knows that. And that's the one thing that we're going to get at. The hardest thing to do is to keep programs like this on the air through social media, such as Facebook. But there are other places where we could go too, because we're not going to hide. We're going to come right out and attack you. And we should attack you. We should attack the fact that you hate the United States of America and you hate freedom and liberty. Every American, everybody around the world knows that Obama hates freedom and liberty. Every American, every Democrat, every liberal, every communist, every socialist knows that Hillary Clinton hates both freedom and liberty. Every American, every liberal, every Democrat, every socialist, every communist knows that Bernie Sanders hates freedom and liberty. I'm going to include Governor O'Malley in on this too, because he happens to be a imbecile, a moron, and a ridiculous fool for being a Democrat. He may be in last place in the Democratic Party for hopefuls to become the next tyrant to the United States of America, but you got to include him too. You got to include Vice President Joe Biden. Let's include San Francisco's person that loves sexual immorality, Nancy Pelosi. Everybody that I've named hates freedom and liberty. Let's face those facts. Look at the Iowa caucuses coming up. Those that love to hear from the morons on the Democrat and liberal side, to even some of those that listen to some of these Republicans that have no backbone, no guts to stand up for freedom and liberty. which would really cower on the liberal and Democrat side. Let's face it, yes, I got friends in Iowa, and they're very good friends. And I got a lot of people that I admire in Iowa. Matter of fact, I admire the whole state of Iowa. I think it's a great state. Second to my home state of Wisconsin. That'll give Iowa a pretty good place to stand. I think those people are good people. But those who believe in U.S. Constitution Amendment 2 should not and must not and better never, ever hate freedom and liberty. Now, some people say, what does a gun have to do with freedom and liberty? Absolutely nothing, with the exception of this: the right to protect yourselves, the right to defend yourselves, and the right to defend freedom and liberty. That's all a gun has to deal with. Now, can we have freedom and liberty without the gun? No. You gotta have the gun in order to have freedom and liberty. Morons like Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, who say that they can't sell guns on Facebook or advertise, is an idiot. He doesn't like freedom and liberty. He says you can say anything else, but you just can't talk about the Second Amendment. Nor does he want anything to do with the Second Amendment. I challenge that moron to one thing: that absolutely give me a call and talk to me about it personally, one-on-one, mano a mano. I'm not afraid to talk to morons. I'm not afraid to talk to imbeciles. I'm not afraid to talk to Democrats and liberals. That I'm not afraid to do. Matter of fact, I make this challenge to them too. Show me in history where a gun got up by itself and killed somebody. My point is this: only a murderer out there would use a gun to take freedom and liberty away from another individual. It's not the gun. It's not the gun. So where does the moron Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, get off telling people what they can and cannot say on Facebook? He may be the founder, the CEO of it, social media. He may be a left-wing idiot. He may be a liberal idiot. He may be a supporter of the Democrat idiot. But he still should know that a piece of iron, steel, and wood cannot kill by itself. It's got to have a human being to pull the trigger. End of sentence. Anybody, including Obama, knows this. Even though his people, the Muslims, that believe in the occult group Islam and the Islamic Church, know that you got to have a moron behind the trigger in order to kill somebody, another human being. Because that thing cannot go off by itself. If it does, I'd like to be the first one to view it and mark it down as a historical fact. It's still, you could tie a string to the trigger, pull the trigger back with the string, but it's still got to have somebody to pull that string. You got to have someone behind the trigger. And if you kill somebody, that means you hate freedom and liberty, unless you're defending yourself. and defending freedom and liberty from the idiot that wants to take it away from you. You hear what I have just said? You got to have some means of force in order to have a counter means of force. That's what the Second Amendment's all about, is protection. Protection of the First Amendment, which we know Mark Zuckerberg and every idiot liberal, every idiot Democrat, every idiot moron of a communist, and every idiot of a moron of a socialist wants to do. They want to take your freedom and liberty away. They want to control the way you speak and how you speak. That's why when you are politically correct in your speech, and you want to be politically correct in your speech, you're no greater than the idiot and moron that says you can't say those words. If you notice, I just used the word idiot, moron, and that is politically correct, by the way. Imbecile is also a politically correct word. But I want to be nice and kind on this program right here. The kindest word I could call a liberal or a Democrat is an idiot, moron, and an imbecile. The kindest word I could call a socialist or a communist is moron, imbecile, idiot, imbecile. I might have said it twice, but that's okay. You can say it twice. Anybody that wants to take away the U.S. Constitution Amendment 2 is an idiot, moron, imbecile, idiot, moron, whatever way you want to phrase it. And those are politically correct words. We could say something else, but in order to get the idiot called a liberal, an idiot called a Democrat, an idiot called a communist, or an idiot called a socialist to listen or to understand, sometimes you got to use the politically correct words. Then to use them in sarcastic language would be a great tool. Now, there are those who say that we here in the United States of America cannot do or say anything about the U.S. Constitution Amendment because people like Mark Zuckerberg want you to be politically correct because he is a idiot, moron, imbecile. I don't know if he's a communist or a socialist. I don't know if he's really one of those categories, but I put all four in the same category because you got to include Bernie Sanders in on this conversation. And if you don't include Bernie Sanders in on this conversation, then you might just well say nothing. And that way it keeps from being discriminatory. So that's why you include morons like him. Of course, he is a moron anyways, but that's besides the point. He loves Adolf Hitler. He's a fan of Adolf Hitler. Being a socialist makes him a fan of Adolf Hitler. End of sentence. Adolf Hitler hated guns. Matter of fact, he wanted gun control. We also know that only Germans could carry guns. Jews couldn't. Poles couldn't when he took over Poland. And we know that when he took over his part of the world, he got rid of the guns, had gun control. A neat way to take over a country, especially in all reality, it'd be a neat way to take over the United States of America if you eliminate U.S. Constitution Amendment 2. You could do it. That is the key to taking away freedom